Next question is from Judith Moore. I'll ask it if she's not here. The question is, the government is going to stop people from staying in their homes for life by introducing fixed-term tenancies which can be as short as 2 years. They also want to increase social rent to 80% of private rent. What can the Trust do about that? John?
I guess in many instances most people kind of believe that most proposals that come out of government actually work their way into the legislation and become law. But in terms of determining whether fixed-term tenancies will apply to Byker, that's a matter for the Trust. And the Trust can decide not to have fixed-term tenancies in its area. It's as simple as that, Mark. And I guess that's something that the Trust would probably look favourably upon. I know, personal perspective here, I'm not in favour of fixed-term tenancies of 2 years. I don't think they work. I don't think they create sustainable communities. And it's not something that I would advocate to have within the Trust. In terms of rent, government have said two different things on rent, actually. They've gone, let's move to something called an affordable rent, which is the 80% of market rent. Typically, that's only supposed to be for new build homes, mind. The other strange thing, and George and I have had many debates and discussions on this over the years, is something called convergence, and I apologise for using a big word. Council rents have always been much lower than registered social landlord rents. And in part, I think you can understand that, because most registered social landlord houses or housing associations are brand new. Lots of council houses were built prior to 1970. The government, though, have said repeatedly over the past decade, we want to make these two rents converge so that they are the same. So every year when we are told how much we have to increase your rents by, it's typically whatever inflation is in October, plus 0.5%, plus a factor for convergence, 2 or 3%. Now, the crazy thing for me is if you go back a couple of years, inflation in October was running at 0. The government at that stage took the opportunity to add 3.1% to rents, and that was a full convergence factor. So it's a really complicated formula. The two key messages are the Trust will control how and what kind of tenancy agreements you have. The Trust will control what rents you charge. The thing you have to bear in mind with rents is rent converts into investment on the estate. So before we get carried away by saying let's not increase the rents or let's reduce the rents, there is a direct relationship between the amount of investment that goes onto the estate and the rent you pay.
Thanks very much, John. George?
Fixed-term tenancies to me are just ludicrous, to be honest with you. I mean, I actually took a resolution to council last year and I was shocked when the opposition, as they are now, didn't even support it. I was quite shocked, to say the least. How can you get stable communities if you say to someone taking up a tenancy, you're only going to be in that for 2 years? Absolutely madness. And as far as I'm concerned, it'll never work. And when I certainly took that resolution to council last year, the impression I got it was going to be left to local discretion, but whether that changes or not. But I think that's one of the good things the Trust can protect. If somebody comes in as a new tenant, they want to live in that community, they want to bring their family up in that community and be part of that community, and you cannot do that with fixed-term tenancies. It's absolutely barking mad. But yeah.
Just on the rent element, I think the key issue is what John alluded to, that actually for the first time, should you choose to vote in favour of a trust, what you guarantee is the money that you actually spend through rent is actually directed and ring-fenced into Byker. Currently it goes into a city-wide pot, so therefore you're contributing to everything that happens in the city. This is actually the best chance that, so as you said, rent increases may in some ways be beneficial to yourselves depending on the investment that's required. It's about identifying what your priorities are, understanding what your commitment to the ward is and what you think are fair rents. Well, basically, you won't see, as some people have hyped around the estate over the last few months, you'll see rent hikes. That will not happen because it will be a decision by the board and yourself as tenants. There would be a vote. But there may be some small increases over time, as there always has been through the council and then subsequently YHN.
Thank you, Nick. Barry?
Just to reinforce this point about the fixed-term tenancies, as far as I understand, it's optional really, so despite whatever happens to the legislation, it'll be up to you to make a decision about what you want to do locally.
Well, I've got nothing to say on the fixed tenancies, but in terms of the move to the affordable rents, increasing the rent, my understanding is that the Trust has made a decision and it will follow the government's guidance on rent setting for the next 5 years. And that is an offer within the offer document, and if you get that, you're stuck with that. So that means that the Trust can only, the same as they can do and the council does now, it follows the government's guidance on increasing rents. We all know rents do increase every year, but there's a limit put on that, which means that you can only increase the year annually by the rate of inflation, which is set each September, plus 0.5%, plus a maximum of £2. You cannot raise your rents above that level on an annual basis. The affordable rent limit, the new 80% of market rent, that's another government directive which is based at some councils, not many around here, but some housing associations who are currently sat with lots of money in their coffers, and the government wants to push these housing associations, in particularly fairly wealthy ones, to start using their own money to build homes, build new homes. And if you do choose to go for the affordable rent level, the 80% of market rent level, the difference you get in the rent from that, you can only use that to build new homes. You can't improve services with it. You can build new homes with it. That's a different agenda. The government wants existing housing providers to use more of their existing money and other money they could charge, i.e. the 80%, to build new homes and not rely on government grant the way they have done in the past. But you've got a commitment at the moment that the Trust isn't going to go that way. The Trust will follow the guidance on the rate of inflation plus 0.5%, plus a maximum of £2 per year.